Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, or good night. This is just another one of our walkthroughs. You should be getting familiar with them right now. Assignment 2.6, which I'm going to use here as a template, and assignment 2.8 are very, very similar. 2.6 is going to be where you describe an experience of desolation, and in the next assignment, 2.8, you will do the exact same thing, but it will be an experience of consolation. The categories come from the same author and everything. So let's take a moment and take a brief tour. So this slide should look very similar, but rather than Brackley, you're going to describe Thibodeau's definition here, and in the first case, desolation, and the next one, consolation. You'll write up your summary. Again, this is a text box, and it will shrink, so don't worry about how long it takes you to write, but remember, these are fairly short. You're just doing a summary. And I like to do my writing outside of the Google slide deck. I use Grammarly because I need the help with commas and verbiage and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to draft it somewhere else so that you can use some of those tools that you can't in Google slide deck, go ahead and do that. Then I'm just repeating the readings you would have had in assignment 2.5 or on the next assignment, it'll be assignment 2.7. So you would have already read these readings. So if you need to refer back to them to refresh your memory, you can do that by selecting the links here. So you pick 3 ways that you think that desolation manifests itself in your life. What does it look like when you think you're in desolation? Give a summary of each of those here. And then on the next slide, what you're going to do is you're going to take each of those experiences or those expressions of desolation, and you're going to plan so you can see here an example that you think works. How do you think it fits? What brought you desolation? And then some of the planning stuff. Then on the next slide, this is where you decide, do you want to use the story map to plan your story or the slide wheel? If you want the slide wheel, go to slide 13. If you're going to stay with your story map, you just go on to the next slide. So we're starting our story map. All right, what example of desolation do you want to use? Those pre-writing instructions, if you want to be refreshed on those. This is an example from Thibodeau's own book on desolation, on an experience he had of desolation. I really like this one because, well, first of all, you can also go see. You can look on page 22 and 23 and see how he does it, but it's also such a simple thing. It's not some big crisis. I just want to know that you've experienced desolation and you can identify what it looks like and how you dealt with it or didn't deal with it. Then again, on the next slide, it's the template for you to use for your own story of desolation, and you'll write it up here. Again, I like to use Grammarly when I'm doing my writing so that I get help with English. And then you would go after your story is written, you'd go to 17 to explain how it fits with Thibodeau's definition. Now, if you went to the story wheel, these are the story wheel slides. And I'm going to use the same here's the same Thibodeau story, but with the story wheel. So you can see it fits here, and I made a couple of changes. So right here, it causes desolation, so that to kind of key you in on what you're working with. On 2.8, it'll be causes consolation. So very similar. Again, here's where you'll plan. You'll draft it here. I love Grammarly. That's where I do all my writing. And then here's where you join again to explain how your experience fits one of the ways that people feel desolation as described by Thibodeau. So you'll draft your explanation here, and then you will be done and ready to submit it, and I'll take a look at it, and we will make any changes that we need to make sure that this is the best story that you can write. Thanks so much for your time, and I hope that this is helpful.